I'm Jay, and this is NFC Weekly. And back again, our friend from across the pond, Matty Waters. But before we get to Matty, ladies, I got a question for you. Are you sick of shopping for high end clothes and it being way overpriced for you and your children? Well, wait no more. Check out waitnomoreboutique.com and get the high end clothes for a reasonable price. And if you use the promo code JAY, you will save on your first order. That's waitnomoreboutique.com, promo code J. All right, Matty. Matty comes to us from the travelstorysociety.com. Matty, just tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, if you guys don't already know this, then I'm a co-founder of a website called the Travel Story Society, where www.travelstorysociety.com, for me and my girlfriend, founded a website where people can share their travel stories as blog formats if they want to. You can get in contact with us and say, hey, I've been on some cool stories. I've got some cool travel stories. I'm going to write a blog about it. Or you can message us and we'll put you on our podcast as well. So on our podcast, we chat to people and just about their favorite travel stories as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you want to get in contact with us, then it's the Travel Story Society at gmail.com. And if you want to check us out, it's www.travelstorysociety.com. Hey.
Yeah, guys, check it out. I went and checked it out. I read a couple. It's pretty cool to see vacations or holidays, depending where you're from, through the eyes of other people. It's really interesting, and it made me actually want to get overseas at some point and see some things that I haven't seen. So check it out, guys. But today, we're going to start with the Matthew Stafford trade and some NFC rumors. I don't know. I'll just go quick and say I was a little shocked by the size of the trade, but I absolutely get it. And it really tells you what the Rams feel about Jared Goff. And you don't often see two first overall picks swap for each other.
Yeah. Well, it was like you text me about 6 a.m. Over here and went, oh well, Matthew Stafford's been traded to the Rams, and I was just like, oh man, what the fuck? We just spent a whole podcast like where we listed like 6 or 7 teams that he could trade to, and the Rams didn't come up at all. And obviously the Rams didn't come up on many people's radars until like at least the day before at the latest. Like that's where the earliest, that's where people were hearing about it. I think it's a trade that works for both teams. I think it's one of those few ones where there's not really a loser. Like Matthew Stafford is a better quarterback than Jared Goff. And Sean McVay was done with Jared Goff. He was finished. And they just said, right, let's find a talented quarterback that we can give up the trade picks for and get rid of Jared Goff's contract. They landed on Matthew Stafford. And I don't know if you saw this, but on the Pat McAfee show, Aaron Rodgers came on and said that Matthew Stafford is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. So, hey, I'm good with that trade. I love that trade. It's good with me. So I've got the number 9 on today.
Yeah. Before I get into the actual who I think is winners and losers of this trade, so a report comes out. I don't know if you've seen this. It was late last night, so it's super early your time.
Yeah.
And I have no idea if it's true. I pray it's true. But I guess there was a group text between teammates, and Jared Goff text about Sean McVay's girlfriend, I would pipe her. I pray it's true. I have no idea, but I pray that is true just because it is definitely something a young guy would say, and it's hilarious, okay? And I have no idea if that's why they fell out or not, but I want to believe it's true.
Yeah. Well, the Rams are kind of done. The Rams were kind of done with Goff anyway. There was a lot of stuff from the locker room saying, "Oh yeah, we're done as well." Like Jalen Ramsey came out and tweeted and said, "Oh yeah, we're like kind of." Gave the idea that they were done with Goff as well, and it was weird, man. It was just like, oh, it's all finished, all turned so quickly, and yeah, that's pretty awesome. Like how quickly that trade just completely turned around, and I don't rate Jared Goff that much. Like I've never really rated him. Like people always compared him to like Dak, and people compared him to like Carson Wentz, and it's like no, they're not the same level. They're not the same. Like Dak
I
and Carson
think
Wentz are better than Goff.
I agree, but I think for the Lions, really good trade.
Yeah, I think it's a great trade for the Lions.
Now, granted, you have to wait till next year to get your first round picks and the year after because of the Ramsey trade, but you get a third, and you get a quarterback who is serviceable for a rebuild, right?
Yeah.
So if you draft a young guy this year, next year, whatever, he can sit, and maybe you can get more out of Goff. I don't know, maybe whatever, different system, however, but I don't think it was bad for the Lions at all, and I think you got everything you could for Matthew Stafford only because of his age, because the dude's amazing, I think he's a wasted Hall of Fame talent. Now, for the Rams, for any other team, I think it's a great trade. This is my only problem. If you win a Super Bowl, it was definitely worth it, and you sold out, and cool, you got that Super Bowl, everything was worth it. The odds of you getting that Super Bowl are not big because it's the NFL, and after this trade plays itself out, that's 7 years without a first-round pick. 7 years. And if you're trying to build your team, in the long run, that is going to catch up to you, and it is going to hurt you at some point. So my thing is, you swung for that Super Bowl, and I cannot be mad at you. But if you don't get it, it's a failure to me because you're going to hurt your team so much.
Definitely. Well, they're swinging for a Super Bowl. They're effectively just saying, right, we're going all in. 5 years doesn't matter, and I believe that's the NFL. That's the NFL that I want to see, like a win now league. That's the way the NFL's kind of built. It's not really built for longevity. Like whoever said, it's NFL stands for not for long.
I agree.
When you've got,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
When you've got a team that can win, and the Rams can win. They beat Seattle with a quarterback who can't, like. Jared Goff is a decent quarterback, but especially with the hand that he had, the dude was not good. And like when you saw them play against the Packers, you never thought, oh yeah, they're going to win this. But they have a team that can get there with that quarterback. Drop Matthew Stafford in there, and it's beautiful. I just think it's a great trade for both teams. It's a great trade for where the Rams are at. They needed a quarterback upgrade. Stafford is much better than Goff. And you can say about they're not building for the future and stuff, but Stafford is half the price of Goff.
No, I get
Stafford
that.
is cheaper than
but
Goff.
I get that also if they restructured Donald and I forgot who it was, they can free up $21 million, okay?
Yeah.
Which is fine. And you'll have it for this year, whatever. If you get the Super Bowl, best trade ever. I get that.
Yeah, definitely.
And as a Vikings fan, if you told me give up 10 first-round picks and you will win a Super Bowl, I'm in just because of the franchise, right? I'm in. I want that Super Bowl. But I'm just afraid as a guy who really believes the theory of you have to put 4 or 5 guys on your roster every year from the draft to keep it turning over without it costing you too much down the line.
Yeah.
And without 7 first-round picks, at some point, Aaron Donald gets old. Jalen Ramsey gets old. You know what I mean? And so if you get that Super Bowl, if you get that Super Bowl, it was worth it. If you don't, you really screwed yourself.
Yeah, I think Les Snead is a talented enough GM to kind of say, well, I trust us if we get to that point to like move off. So they've managed to move off Goff. Like Goff looked like he was going to be the reason the Rams weren't going to get to a Super Bowl because they gave up so much in terms of cap space to get him, to sign him to a contract, and then he just wasn't doing it. But I think with Stafford, you just give yourself such an immense chance to win. Like, what first round pick could you see that the Rams could get in the next 2 years will give them as much of a chance to win as Stafford? Like, you build your team. So, like, fair enough. There's a Chase Young in the draft. There's a Trevor Lawrence in the draft that can transform your team. But the Rams are a high enough quality of team that they're not going to get Chase Young. They're not going to get Trevor Lawrence. But
even
they
if
could get some decent players in the second round.
Even if you did get Trevor Lawrence, you don't know what you have in the NFL. With Matt, you do. You know. Tough as nails, can throw every pass on the tree, and he's a smart guy. And if you really look through the history of the NFL since the beginning of the West Coast offense, which is what
that's why
McVay runs a version of it, MVPs galore, quarterback MVPs galore out of. So I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying if you don't hit that Super Bowl, you screwed yourself. So it's one of those things. It's go big or bust. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, as a fan, I say sell out because I would sell out 10 first-round picks for the Vikings to get a Super Bowl. Also, this isn't the NBA, so you can find really talented guys deeper in the draft. But without those 7 first-round picks, you have to be great in them late rounds.
Yeah, and hey, they look like they've done a pretty good job.
I agree.
In those rounds. Like if you have a good quarterback, if you have a good defensive line who can get to the passer, and you have a good O-line, the Rams have all 3. Who are you going to find in that first round, that's going to make you better? Like, obviously, the left tackle, quite old. What's his name?
Andrew Whitworth.
Yeah, Whitworth. They could probably do with finding another left tackle. Like, he's going to go soon. Like, he already retired this season.
Right, but he should have been gone like 5 years ago, and he still can play.
Yeah, it's the same as Brady. Like, keep it on going.
It's crazy.
So, but they free up that amount of cap space that almost says, well, then you can go pick somebody who's first round quality, and you can go take him as a free agent and drop him in there.
A big thing the Rams have going for them on this push for the Super Bowl, this ain't necessarily a longevity run. Yeah. But by restructuring those contracts, it was Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald. And they get the same money, and it's written in that the teams can just do this. It just moves bonuses up front and that kind of stuff. They'll free up $21 million, which I think said they'll be like in the top 10 of cap space going into this offseason, even with the cap coming down the way it is. So for the moves, because we're going to see teams have to cut people they do not want to because of the cap. Yeah. They're going to grab some people. All I'm saying is you got a window of 1 or 2 years, 3 at the most.
Yeah, definitely.
To hit this Super Bowl. That's all.
They need to at least get to a Super Bowl to make the trade worthwhile, because you have kind of mortgaged your future. But that's kind of what the NFL is about, isn't it? It's like deciding when you have the team and then what you need to do in order to get there. And for the Rams, I just think it's a really good move. I think Stafford has a few problems, which is why more teams weren't fully in on him. I think
injuries,
injuries. He has but behind that offensive line, he won't get hit as much. His touchdown to interception ratio is not even 2-1. Like, it's not great. But the dude played, like, sorry to anybody who's a Detroit fan, but the guy played for Detroit. Like, the win was on his shoulders. He had to throw those balls every year. And there's a lot of stuff kind of saying that, Stafford isn't a winner. Like, he hasn't won anything yet. And that, which is a fair enough criticism, but he's played with Detroit. Like, the only thing you can say for that is at Georgia, he didn't win. And at Georgia, he had a talented roster and the guy didn't win, and he probably should have won. But, like, that was college. Like, imagine putting him with McVay. Like, he's had shitty coaching in Detroit. Now you put him with one of the greatest offensive minds in the game, and he should be good. Like,
well, before I use what you just said as a transition, because it was perfect, I'm going to be the jackass who's going to give you an on the fence answer about the Rams. As a fan, great move. As the organization, scary as hell.
Oh, terrifying.
So
absolutely terrifying moves. You could have really, like, Les Snead could get fired for that. Is Les Snead the owner or the GM?
The GM, I believe.
The
owner's the guy, I forget his name, and the owner's the guy who married the Walton girl from Walmart.
Yeah, and it's and they have an owner that just will throw money at it until they win. And Les Snead is
he gets beat
Les
up
Snead's
a lot.
job is now on the line. McVay's job is now on the line.
Correct. I forget the owner's name, but he gets beat up a lot because they're like, oh, he just married somebody with a ton of money. Well, she came in with like $3 billion and he turned it into 16. So he gets some credit too.
Yeah. I would like to say that this is also a great move for Detroit, by the way, just while we're on the subject.
That's what I was going to say about Detroit. And I was going to use it to let you go. But I was going to say Detroit, my only issue with this whole offseason is Dan Campbell. And it's not even, I don't know him as a coach really. It was that awfully creepy, weird press conference.
I love that.
I feel like half of the players watch that press conference and we're like, fuck this guy.
No, I love that. What did he say? Go in there and bite their kneecaps off and
And
stuff.
then bite
Oh
the other one
man,
off.
that is the way that you want a coach in Detroit to sound, man. You want what's
It was
Pat
creepy.
McAfee calls him like Motown Dan Campbell and stuff like that.
Motor
Like he is
City.
Motor City, Motor City. He is the boy, like for coming in and just speaking that. I love that, and I think it's kind of the kick up the arse that Detroit need. Now, is he going to be the guy that takes Detroit to a Super Bowl? Probably not.
If he
But
comes
does he
in,
get them in the right direction? You know?
if he comes into Detroit and talks to those players like he did at that conference, he's going to lose the locker room day one. Adult men are not trying to hear that creepy bite the kneecap off. It was like that weird Jameis Winston eating the W's.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
creepy to grown men. I get you the fire they want,
yeah,
but
yeah.
that was such a weird press conference.
I just think if you're a player and you hear your coach sounding like that in his first press conference, then you shit yourself. You're gonna run through walls. I'm not saying he's gonna come into the locker room and just say, "You go out there and you bite their kneecaps off," but he'll just be like, "You go out there and you play hard. You run through walls for this city." But the fans want to see a guy who is just pumped to have an NFL coaching job, and he will do everything he can to get there. Is he a proven coach? Not really. Like is he gonna be the guy that wins them a lot of games? Probably not. But he
Isn't he
gets them
kind of
going the
like
right
your
way.
isn't he kind of just like the transitional girlfriend
Yeah,
where
perfect.
you
Yeah.
break up with somebody, you get a girlfriend to help you heal, and then you find a new person or something?
Yeah, name
I've
that they're
been
normally a
I've been
nutter.
married for
Yeah,
20 years, so I don't remember how that works. But before I forget, when you were saying that Matt Stafford had shit coaching,
yeah.
think back to when he had Jim Caldwell.
Yeah.
They had good years. He played great. Coaching has a ton to do with it. You're right.
Coach it, yeah, I think with a like quarterbacks and coaches, like they're really important, they're a really important relationship. Goff is not gonna thrive under Dan Campbell's type of go out there and fuck these guys. But Jared Goff is there for a transitional phase. Like they've managed to get 2 first-round picks and a third rounder and a serviceable quarterback to see them
Well,
through like what they're doing. That's a great rebuild move apart from the contract.
if you're Goff, also, maybe this is what you needed. Maybe it's like, oh, they didn't believe in me anymore.
Yeah.
Watch this, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
and on a rebuilding team, okay, because that Detroit's been rebuilding for 40 years, but it's a real rebuild again.
Detroit's been rebuilding since I've been watching the NFL. Yeah.
Um, they're going to run first, play action, throw the ball. Takes a lot of pressure off a quarterback. So
Hmm.
maybe Goff can come out and either win that job permanently or do enough to show another team, look,
Yeah.
I'm still an NFL starter. Like, and if he doesn't, then it's on him. But at least he's got the opportunity in a place where people are actually going to give him a little leeway because of the rebuilding, and they're not going to judge him on wins and losses. They're going to judge him on situational plays, like how did he
Yeah.
read the defense? Did he make the right decision? Did he do this? And I think that might be good for a guy like Jared Goff because he's got probably a bad taste in his mouth, and the NFL has a bad taste because they're like, well, if you can't play good for Sean McVay, and I'm not saying this is the case, but maybe he's just not a West Coast quarterback.
Yeah, like he played better when Todd Gurley was running the football. Like all quarterbacks play better when they've got a run game, but Jared Goff was noticeably better when Todd Gurley was running the football. Like their 2017 offense was unbelievable, and then it's kind of tailed off since there. And he's just he's just somebody who needs a run game, play action, bootlegs. Like he's not got a big time arm, so he just needs those little scheming things to help him out. And Detroit's a good fit for Jared Goff. Detroit is getting some good picks, and Matt Stafford is in a good situation at the Rams. So I think both parties can be really happy. I think that this example set by Detroit is something that the Texans can learn from. It's weird saying that the Lions have set an example for another team, but it's like, what's the point of holding on to your quarterback if you're not winning? Like, what's the point? Like, just get good picks for him, tear it down, and start again. And that's what they've done. Now they've got a quarterback who's been to a Super Bowl, unlike Matt Stafford, which means that he can then, if they decide to draft a young, talented quarterback, whoever falls to them in the draft this year, they can sit them for a year behind Goff until they're ready.
And your Goff contract, if you look at it, it's a 2-year deal because of the guaranteed money.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to get a guy in the draft this year. You can do it next year if you want it, however you evaluate it. And
you have 2 shots.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And you got more draft capital coming next year from the Rams. So if you want to move up, you'll be able to, and whatever. So they don't even have to use their first round pick this year on a quarterback. If there's a guy they think can help their team more than, say, a Trey Lance, if because I think Wilson's the second quarterback off the board and then Fields, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
I just think that Detroit's in a good spot for a rebuild. And like I said, if the Rams win a Super Bowl, it was definitely worth it. If not, it's going to hurt that team.
Yeah, well, if Detroit are hot on Trey Lance, then
grab him and let him sit for 2 years.
Now's the time. Let him sit for a year, let him sit for 2 years. Now's the time. Let him learn the game. Trey Lance would be a great fit for Detroit, actually, the more you think about it with this new move. And it's just kind of like, the only problem with it is Goff's contract. It is a lot of money. They're paying double the amount they will be paying Stafford. But if you build him for the long term, then you don't mind having one big cap hit on your roster. That's not too bad. That's totally fine. And also, there is a lot to say for, did they not get that second first round pick by taking on Goff's contract? So is Matthew Stafford not worth a 1, a 3, and Goff? But then with Goff's contract, they're able to say to the Rams, well, give us another first. So is then Goff's contract worth it?
I love that, though, because the money he still owed, if you play out his whole deal, it gets ridiculous. But the next 2 years aren't that bad, and then you can get rid of him if you want. So to even use that to me was funny. Also, and I'm going to use this as a good transition into another rumor, Stafford gets beat up because of his wins and losses, which is not fair because he plays in Detroit. Same thing with the guy I want to bring up with the new rumor going on. Everybody's talking about the San Francisco 49ers Kirk Cousins trade. And I keep hearing, well, Cousins isn't worth the same thing as Stafford. Cousins isn't, but listen, everybody wants to go, oh, he can't win the Monday night game. He gets to Minnesota, he wins the Monday night game. He can't win the Thursday night game. He gets to Minnesota, he wins the Thursday night game. He can't win the playoff game. He gets to Minnesota, he wins the playoff game. It was the freaking football team from Washington. They were garbage. They were freaking garbage. And I'm not saying that Kirk Cousins is freaking Aaron Rodgers, but they were garbage. And they mortgaged their franchise for RG3. It did not work, so they could not build around Cousins. Yeah. So he played good for where he was. And everybody's like, well, his money's too high. He's the 7th highest paid quarterback in the NFL right now. And Pro Football Focus has him rated as the 6th best quarterback in the NFL. 70% completion, 101, over 101 passer rating, averages over 4,000 yards a year and 30 touchdowns over his career.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, so San Francisco's rumor is Jimmy Garoppolo and some picks for Kirk Cousins. I'm saying if Rick Spielman, who I think is a great GM, takes anything less than the Matt Stafford trade, if they trade him, fire his ass.
I think I don't know about that. I think a first and a third for Cousins is fair enough because you don't have.
Then why, if you're the Vikings, do you get rid of him? If you're the Vikings, why do you get rid of him? Garoppolo's garbage, and you're not guaranteed a quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. That's
so to make the Vikings the fight, even get into
I'm not sure I would get rid of him if I was.
That's why I said if you're Spielman, he should be fired if he takes less than 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much validity there is to this rumor. The only way I can see it happening is the only way I can see it happening is the Vikings decide that they're done with Kirk Cousins' contract and they're ready for a new opportunity, which would be a weird thing to do. Like, Kirk Cousins is a decent quarterback and the Vikings have got other shit to worry about, to be perfect.
Well, and like I said, he's the 7th highest paid quarterback, right?
Yeah.
And other contracts are coming in. So by the time this year is over, he's going to be what, the 10th, 11th highest paid quarterback. People are mad about the $33 million, which I get, but this year it's 31.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it doesn't become a big hit for 2 more years, and you can get out of his contract after next year with a small cap hit if you want to. So why would you sell out a guy who seems to click with Jefferson, Thielen, for an unknown, unless you know you can get enough capital to move up and get the guy you want?
Well, he's now the second best quarterback in the division as well.
Right.
Like, if you think about it like that, in a division with Aaron Rodgers in it. So there's only a select few people that any team can bring in that would make them the best quarterback in the division. So, you know, in a division with Aaron Rodgers, to be the second best quarterback is not a bad thing. I see it as a good move for the 49ers.
Right.
And like, it could be a good move for the Vikings if they then get themselves into, like, don't settle as Garoppolo as your quarterback. You then need to get the picks to go get another quarterback and use Garoppolo in that trade. So a three-way quarterback trade. So you have options like Sam Darnold, Jameis Winston. You almost
don't
become.
Ever say that again.
I know you don't like Sam Darnold. I rate Sam Darnold, but I know you don't like him. But you have Jameis Winston as well, who almost seems to be available, and you have. Do you then have enough draft capital to go after Deshaun Watson?
Well, this is why I said, if you're Rick Spielman and you take anything less than two firsts, Garoppolo, and I don't care if that third turns into a fifth or a seventh or whatever, but if you don't get the 2 firsts, and here's my argument, because Cousins is not a top 5 quarterback, but he is a top 10 quarterback, and where are you like talking? I don't know if Jameis will be better because he's a turnover machine. Maybe he's fixed it, maybe he hasn't. I think he stays with Sean Payton, though, but that's a different story. So my theory on it is, and this is just playing the fun rumor game, right? You get those 2 first-round picks and Garoppolo from the 49ers if you can get it, right?
Yeah.
Then you turn around and you call Bill Belichick and you're like, I got Garoppolo for a second.
Yeah, because that's a great
Belichick never
move.
wanted to get rid of him anyway. He's obviously not sold on Stidham. So maybe you can get a second for Garoppolo, or maybe a third even, but I'm not keeping Garoppolo. Then I'm using all that draft capital, not if whatever you have to use, to get up and get one of those top 3 or whoever your quarterback is, right? And not mortgaging my future while doing it, because I'll have enough picks to just give you the pick San Fran gave me with maybe my first-round pick. So say you have to give up 3 first-round picks to move up, right?
Yeah.
You give the 2 San Frans and this year's first-rounder, well, then this year's first-rounder really counts as the quarterback, so you're only really giving up the San Fran pick, so you really only traded Cousins to move up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's just my theory on it. And like I said, I'm a Viking fan from birth. Skull Nation in my heart. I pump purple. So to me, I might be a homer who's overly hyper sensitive to the whole situation. And I don't think Cousins is great, but I really think Cousins is good enough with a good team around him to win you a Super Bowl. But if you could do that, hypothetically, you free up enough money to keep Anthony Barr, Anthony Harris. I think DJ Wanham's a fucking stud, and he's the next Danielle Hunter. Hunter comes back. Pierce comes back from the opt-out. I think that defense is a lot better, and you don't lose anybody. So I could see where it's a good trade, but you have to make sure you can get the quarterback you want, because you're throwing next season and maybe the next 2 away with a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, well, Cousins getting the move to the 49ers will be great for Kirk Cousins. Let's just put that forward. He immediately becomes a contender to get to a Super Bowl. Obviously not in the media, because they spin this narrative of, he can't win playoffs, which is bullshit. Like, that's not. The guy is a gamer. Like, he can play football. Yeah, he can play football. That season where he got injured for the Washington football team, or when he got traded, they looked like they were going to win the division. Like, they were playing well.
Well,
like,
and
he
think
was
about
okay.
this.
Like,
he didn't even get traded. They let him walk.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to anything that Washington do as a regard to how good a quarterback is, because like RG3 turned out to be crap, and then Kirk Cousins they let walk, who's decent.
Vikings fans, before you jump on this trade Cousins for a fucking bowl of dog food bandwagon, remember our history. Remember our quarterbacks. Christian, I ponder why we even fucking drafted you. I mean, Donovan McNabb couldn't even throw the ball 7 yards anymore.
Yeah.
So you got to go back to Brett Favre and a couple years with Dante Culpepper. Like, quarterback is our Achilles heel, and I don't care if you think Cousins is elite. He has given the Vikings stability.
Yeah. My thing about this is I could totally see it happening. Like Shanahan and Cousins have played together at Washington. Like this could totally happen, and it would make sense for both teams at a certain price mark.
Or
But could this not be the 49ers trying to press the Texans' hand to say,
maybe
we're gonna trade for Cousins if you don't come out and tell us the price that you want for Watson? And also, like, it clearly just shows that the 49ers are over Garoppolo and they'll go take
every
whoever.
sports analyst disagrees with me, so I'm probably wrong. But as I can only speak for my team, the Vikings, right?
Yeah.
Do not give up 5 first-round draft picks for Watson. Don't do it.
Yeah, I think that's a fair enough thing.
I like the kid. Don't get me wrong, but who plays around him?
Yeah, I think there's only certain teams that can go out and
Correct.
do that. Like the Jets, where all the analysts are saying, "Oh yeah, the Jets," but then why would Watson move to the Jets? Like if they take all of his first rounders as well, like then he has nowhere to go.
I know
So
this is
there's
going
only
to
a few
sound
teams with the Stafford trade. What the hell did Indy do? By the way, I just want to put that out there. India screwed. Like, like they've really missed out there. And so, could you get a good price for Cousins elsewhere? Like, could Minnesota say, right, we're kind of done with Cousins, but we won't trade him for nothing. Let's get a bit of a market going around there. And now Indy don't have a quarterback, so then they can go get Cousins for a small amount, for a big amount, and then like there's a few reasons why this rumor would come out and it not be real. But also, we all thought that about Stafford, and he's now a Ram.
that your idea though is probably the only way you milk 2 first rounds out of it is get 2 teams going at each other.
Yeah, you've got to get Indy and the 49ers going
But
at
and
each
this
other,
is going to
or are the
sound
49ers baiting to get?
this is going to sound
Like,
crazy because you were saying only a few teams should go after Watson.
yeah,
If you're a team like the Lions, give them this year's first, the 2 that you just got, and Jared Goff. Well, then go ahead. Go ahead. If you
yeah,
give up like something like that, you know what I mean? Or if you're the Dolphins and you can get away with lessening the first round picks by giving up Tua,
hmm
then that's a good move. But I don't think it'll be 5 first round draft picks, but that's what Dan Orlovsky believes it is. And I really like
yeah,
Dan. And Dan's always funny to me because as a Vikings fan, I always remember Jared Allen chasing him right out of the end zone and him still throwing a pass like 5 yards out of the end zone. But I love him on ESPN. I think he actually saves the NFL Live. But I don't
yeah.
think any team gives up 5 picks. But what the hell do I know? Because I didn't think anybody was really going to give up 2 for Stafford. I thought it was going to be 1 and like 4 or 5 lower picks.
As a Cowboy, I would have given up 2 for Stafford. Definitely.
It would have saved
I
you a ton of
honestly
money
love
with
Matt
that whole
Stafford.
Dak thing.
Yeah, well, there's a few teams that could take Cousins off your hands for the kind of money that the kind of capital that you're wanting, and it makes sense for both parties. So you have the 49ers could do it. Like they could go and say, right, we're not going to do this for Watson. Let's just go get Cousins. Like if the Texans are playing hardball, you just say, right, we're going to go get Cousins. That makes sense.
And there's another thing that makes this more
Indy,
difficult because of the dead cap money on Cousins. What I was reading is he would get the same money, but they would have to restructure his contract before they trade him so that
yeah,
San Francisco eats that money, not them.
yeah, exactly. And it's like, well, it's too difficult a trade to pull off, especially with Watson on the market, who everybody's like, really,
Unless Shanahan sold
that's the game.
Unless Shanahan sold because he had 2 or 3 years with Cousins in Washington.
Yeah,
I agree. It's a very hard trade to get done unless Shanahan's up at Lynch's office going, no, that's our guy. Then it becomes a lot easier.
That's the difficult
right.
part of it. I see it as more of a play to make the Texans force their hand. And if the Texans still decide to play hardball, then they go get Cousins. Because they clearly, like, the 49ers, they're a quarterback away. There are a few teams that are a quarterback away where Cousins fits if you don't get Watson, and then the Vikings, or like you'll have to go strike out on a draft pick, or you'll have to take like Winston or Darnold or who else is knocking about.
I guess if you're San Francisco too, right? You're looking at how many draft picks you have to give up, everything like this. But if I'm the Texans, I'm looking at it like I got all the power. If you sit out, you go broke because of the huge fines in the CBA right now.
Yeah, well, it's
so
21
you have
million
to show up, or
year,
you're going to lose all your money, and you're going to show up and you play your best because you don't want to look like a fool on tape.
Yeah.
So if I'm the Texans, I play hardball with teams, and they want 2 defensive starters from what I've been hearing. And then if you give up 2 defensive starters, are you still a contender if you're a contending team? And I find to actually be more hard of a trade to pull off than Cousins. Just because you have to give up so much, do you hurt your team to a level where it's not worth it?
Yeah, well, I think Cousins is only a hard trade because Watson is on the market. So it's kind of like who's real, who's just using Cousins as leverage against the Texans. I don't think Cousins goes till the Texans play their hand on Watson.
See, I think it's the reverse. And I'll tell you why I think if Cousins was going to go, it would be the reverse. You ever been car shopping?
Yeah.
You really want the brand new Mercedes, right?
Yeah.
You can't afford it, but you need something reliable.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take the next step down and do something affordable. That's why I think maybe a team would go, yeah, Watson's better, but I can win a Super Bowl with Cousins for something I can afford.
Yeah, well,
and you got me
the
thinking
Vikings
that just a minute ago because you brought the Colts into this mix. And I'm like, there's 2 teams that are Super Bowl ready, but if they trade for Watson, they might have to give up so much that their defenses suffer.
There's no way that the Colts get Watson. Like, they're not going to trade him within division. So that's
right. No, I agree,
but
I'm just saying for Cousins, you got 2 teams now that might be able to say, if you're San Francisco, or just putting Indy in there hypothetically, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to give up 2 defensive players, starters, that the Texans want because you want to win that Super Bowl. So maybe you say Cousins is the more affordable option and he can get us there. Yeah, he might not be a Ferrari, but that motherfucker is a Fiat and fast enough. You know what I mean?
You can also see some kind of 3-way deal that ends with, this is really rumor mill.
Absolutely. That's this time of year.
A 3-way deal where Cousins ends up at the Texans with Minnesota getting stuck with Garoppolo
and a bunch of picks.
San Francisco, with a bunch of picks, and San Francisco getting Watson because, which that would work. That could work, but that's not going to happen. But that could work.
Yeah, well, and this is going to be a really odd year for quarterbacks in the NFL. So normally I agree with you, and I'm sure you'll agree with this. As odd as it sounds, never say never this year.
Yeah, definitely. Anything could happen with that.
And the salary cap's going to make it weird too. So.
Yeah, great. Yeah, it's a difficult one. Like, obviously Watson has a massive cap as well. Watson has a massive hit. It depends how sold Miami are on Tua. That's another domino that kind of sets everything in motion with the quarterback market as well. Like, if Miami is sold on Tua, then they don't need to mortgage their future to go get Watson. But at the same time, if they're like, we like Tua, but if we can trade Tua for Watson, we will. Then
Watson's contract's actually team friendly for the next 2 years, and then that big money deal kicks in anyway. So you feel a little better about that if you go after Watson. And in a crazy world, say that whole 3-way trade happened, Garoppolo's only got a $2.8 million cap hit this year and a $1.4 million next year. So if you get him and then you trade him, you free up $25 million. And by getting rid of Cousins, you'd and trading Garoppolo, you'd free up $27 million.
I think also Garoppolo could work at the Vikings for the same reason that Goff works at the Lions. Like, if you decide, look, this team's not, it's not going to win it. We're too far behind Green Bay. We're only playing for a wild card anyway. Let's make a move in the draft with the first round pick that we get for Cousins and have him sit behind Garoppolo for a year, who's played under Belichick. And obviously then also you can trade him to New England if you really want to.
For me, this is just as a Vikings fan. If you did end up with Garoppolo, get rid of Cousins, you get your young quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Get rid of Garoppolo, save the $27 million, sign your other guys, and bring in a guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick for a year or two to let your young guys sit
Case
behind.
Keenum makes his return.
Yeah, a lot cheaper. You save a ton of cap money and keep your other guys. But yeah, like I said, we both said this is all pure rumors, and that's why we get big bucks to be GMs.
That's my new dream job after talking about quarterback rumors, just to actually make them happen. That's the new funniest thing.
Well, all right, Matty, I think we hit those trade rumors. All right, Matty, thanks again for being here. Everybody check out Matty at travelstorysocieties.com, and we'll keep you updated if we hear any more crazy rumors. And keep your eyes open because you'll be getting me and Matty giving you a Super Bowl preview. One world, one love. Deuces.
Bye-bye.
This guy's a fucking idiot.